Welcome to End Time Prophecies. If you have been following this series, you will know that we have taken the view that the events that are mentioned in the book of Revelation happen according to the sequence given therein. We have gone through the first 6 trumpets in the previous video. Now we come to the 7th trumpet. After the 6th trumpet and before the 7th, John was shown 3 visions. The first was of a little book.
I saw still another mighty angel coming down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was on his head. His face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. He had a little book open in his hand.
There is consensus that this little book is the book of Daniel.
And he set his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land, and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roars. When he cried out, 7 thunders uttered their voices. Now when the 7 thunders uttered their voices, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven saying to me,
Seal up the things which the 7 thunders uttered, and do not write them.
Perhaps this was because the 7 thunders spoke at the exact time the tribulation will begin, and that was still to be kept secret.
The angel whom I saw standing on the sea and on the land raised up his hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that are in it, the earth and the things that are in it, and the sea and the things that are in it, that there should be delay no longer. But in the days of the sounding of the 7th angel, when he is about to sound, the mystery of God would be finished, as he declared to his servants the prophets. Then the voice which I heard from heaven spoke to me again.
Go, take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands on the sea and on the earth.
So I went to the angel and said to him, Give me the little book.
Take and eat it, and it will make your stomach bitter, but it will be as sweet as honey in your mouth.
Then I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it, and it was as sweet as honey in my mouth. But when I had eaten it, my stomach became bitter.
You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings.
We recall at the very end of the book of Daniel, Daniel was asked to seal up the vision till the time of the end. At this point in time, Daniel was asked to prophesy the things that were sealed up in his book. The second vision was of the temple, the 3rd temple rebuilt by the man of perdition at the very beginning of the tribulation.
Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood.
Rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles, and they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months.
The third vision was of 2 witnesses for God. We recall at the very beginning of the trumpets, the man of perdition would influence world events, and also that,
And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth.
Now at the very end of the 6th seal, before the 7th begins, the Antichrist, named Abaddon in Hebrew and Apollyon in the Greek, has seized control of Jerusalem, replacing the man of perdition.
When they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies will lie in the streets of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
This description of the city fits Jerusalem, where Jesus was crucified.
Then those from the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations will see their dead bodies 3.5 days, and not allow their dead bodies to be put into graves. And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them, make merry, and send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented those who dwell on the earth.
This is just like Christmas today, giving gifts to one another, perhaps because these two prophets were considered terrorists in today's terms.
Now after the 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them. And they stood on their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. And they heard a loud voice from heaven.
Come up here.
And they ascended to heaven in a cloud.
They were resurrected and taken up to heaven.
In the same hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. In the earthquake, 7,000 people were killed, and the rest were afraid and gave glory to the God of heaven.
Is this the remnant of Israel who believed in Jesus as their Messiah?
The second woe is past. Behold, the third woe is coming quickly.
The third woe is the time of the bowls of God's wrath, the second half of the tribulation, what Jesus called the Great Tribulation.
Then the seventh angel sounded, and there were loud voices in heaven.
The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever.
Then the temple of God was opened in heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his temple. And there were lightnings, noises, thunderings, an earthquake, and great hail.
In this sequence, the bowls follow the trumpets. But before the bowls, we consider the 7 visions that come in between.